Hey everyone, how are you doing tonight? Well, now it actually is morning, very early AM, 3:26 AM, but I wanted to get a couple of videos done right now and try to get them uploaded because I am really getting fought against when it comes to YT censoring my stuff and not even allowing me to post my videos, worldwide blocking them or not allowing them to process. So I'm going to continue to try to upload more videos to my backup channel, Eric Sees All 2, and my BitChute channel, Eric Sees All. So if you could go and subscribe to those, that would help so much, so that if they do take down this channel, I'll be able to still keep in contact with you. This is from yesterday, okay? And it says, Isaias storm regains hurricane strength before making landfall. Slated to thrash New York City, East Coast, okay? And I did a live stream tonight, and it was probably all over the place, but I really enjoyed talking to the people that were there. And I thank you all that did go to the live stream. We're going to do more of those. And we talked about a lot of this stuff right here, okay? How it just happens to re-strengthen right off the coast. And, you can just tell that this is being manipulated, okay? But what I keep seeing, I saw it this morning about 9 a.m. this morning, and it said that, it was on the Weather Channel, and they're sitting there saying, everyone in the Northeast megalopolis needs to pay attention. Your mega cities, right? But that's not it. This is the one that made me start digging. It says, New York pre-staged troops. Okay, so they were pre-staged for this, and this was from yesterday morning at 9 a.m. Okay, so I want you to see some of the information that I've pulled up, okay? I kept questioning, is this a test run? Is this something like that? Are they going to plan on doing this again, or what it is? So let's just get into this. Okay. This one says, Staten Island, New York. Isaias, formerly labeled tropical storm, strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane late Monday night, just before it was expected to make landfall in the Carolinas and slam the East Coast with heavy wind and rainfall. And I may be saying this different than what some people are saying it, but that's just what I'm sticking with. It's close enough. The system was carrying maximum sustained winds of 85 miles an hour as it veered towards the border of South Carolina and North Carolina, according to the National Hurricane Center as of 9 p.m. Monday night, and forecasts warned of potentially life-threatening storm surge along the coast. And they're saying here that it was maximum sustained winds of 85 miles an hour as it went towards the border of South Carolina and North Carolina, okay? When we went to and watched it live, it was kind of all over the place. Yeah, you did have gusts that high, but we never saw any sustained winds that high. But it's not saying that they aren't pushing this storm and strengthening it. They've been killing it with frequencies and just manipulating it as much as they can. So now let's watch this thing go up the coast. Okay, now remember, they're already prepping and ready all the way up here, knowing it's going to hit these areas, okay? You see it just hugs the coast. It's just unreal how it stays on that path. Okay, but let's go back now. Now I want to zoom in on some of these areas really fast. Look at this. These are your sustained winds, okay? This thing is actually getting stronger as it's moving more onto land, where it's actually contacting more land and moving into cooler waters. Even though, yes, these waters are warm, but they're still cooler than down, where it was. And look at some of these wind gusts. You were talking, 87 miles an hour going into Atlantic City, 88. These are nothing. Even over here, look at 80 plus, 85. This is that's some strong wind gust, and let's see how long it lasts. Okay, look at this. Okay, the wind gusts. Okay, start at 32, 70, 85, 58, 39. So you are talking 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. where you're going to have at least 30 plus mile per hour wind gusts throughout that entire time, and sustained between 44 and 37. So somewhere around 45 mile per hour sustained winds. Okay, just dumping into here, and you're going to have a lot of really bad threats for rain and also for storm surge, because the way this thing is pulling in, some of these areas are going to be in a lot of trouble. And especially when you are talking about this much kind of rain, this much rain. This is look at that, 2+ inches, in some areas. Look at 2, it's definitely going to be very, very likely for flash flooding. So please prepare for that. Water kills so many more people than wind does when it comes to these storms. So pay attention to the water, okay? Don't pay attention to the wind as much. Okay, pay attention to it, but don't, base all of your, if you're going to be worried about it or not, off of wind. Okay, now watch. It's going to go into New York. Okay, now watch. We'll back it up. This thing is directly into New York. Look at where New York is. Look. 82, 83. So that is 3 hours straight of 82 to 83 mile per hour wind gusts just hitting you, every so often, over and over again, with sustained around 47 to 50 in, for that same amount of time, going into a place that is a concrete jungle. This flooding could be very, very bad. Goes back to Hurricane Sandy, so definitely pay attention to this with the flooding. Now look, okay, here. Let's jump to this one now. It says, Hurricane Isaias hits North Carolina and heads for New York.
Storm actually making landfall along the southern North Carolina coast, and the leading edge of that, kind of the opening act here, was a line of vicious thunderstorms that moved on through the tri-state area, still going on right now, parts of Dutchess County and the northern parts of Fairfield. We had a 70 mile per hour wind gust in Ocean County at Berkeley Township earlier this evening. There's that tropical storm warning that we have in effect for the entire area. It's a flash flood watch from New York City and points north and west, where we're expecting the access of heaviest rainfall to set up during the day tomorrow. In addition to that, a coastal flood warning for tomorrow evening's high tide cycle, mainly along the south shore back bays of Long Island. Here's Isaias right now making landfall. Again, pretty close to Cape Fear and Wilmington in North Carolina, 85 mile per hour sustained winds. So this made a pretty good intensification right before it made that landfall on its final approach. It will weaken a little bit, but not that much as it approaches the tri-state area during the day tomorrow. And it will be accelerating in forward speed as well. 8 o'clock in the morning, 70 mile per hour winds near Norfolk, Virginia. 8 o'clock at night near Albany. That's how quickly it's going to be moving. So it moves closest past to New York City probably during the afternoon hours. So the worst of the rain and wind from this will be around midday into the afternoon. Between now and then, not a ton going on. A few rounds of rain out there, a few rain bands moving in. But the brunt of the storm, definitely midday into the afternoon hours, 2 to 4 inches of rain, could be 4 inches plus in spots north and west of New York City, and maybe 55 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts out there. Coastal flooding a concern during the evening high tide.
Okay. They just know it, right? That's exactly where it's going to end up. Hurricane Isaias made landfall and is moving inland over North Carolina as it sweeps north, posing the second tropical threat in a month to New York. Why aren't they talking about everything in between that it's going to hit D.C., Atlantic City, New Jersey, all the way up to New York? It just seems like they are 100% using this as a test, using this as a drill. All right, a hurricane which may cause 1.5 billion in losses has prompted tropical storm and hurricane warnings from South Carolina to Maine, including Manhattan, with the flood threat reaching well inland and as far north as Vermont, according to the National Weather Service. The storm doesn't pose a threat to any major oil refineries or platforms. Temporary flood barriers and sandbags have been deployed in New York, particularly in the Wall Street area, to defend against the storm thrusting seawater into the streets. We don't think we're going to see severe impacts from the storm, but out of abundance of caution, we'll put in several pieces in place, said Deanne Criswell, New York City's Commissioner of Emergency Management. It says Isaias will sweep through the mid-Atlantic after striking the Carolinas, spinning over New York late Tuesday, and then drifting off to northern New England and Quebec, where it will almost certainly fall apart by Thursday. A tropical storm warning has been issued for New York, the second this year. The city was also under a threat from Tropical Storm Faye earlier in June. Okay, so are these test runs for something that's definitely, going to happen later that they're planning? Definitely could be. Check this out. Tropical Storm Isaias, an excellent test run for Florida ahead of peak hurricane season. Yeah, you heard it. Test run. Yep, 6 hours ago this was posted. I've been talking about it, and that headline kind of is pretty telling, I would say. It says power has been restored. CV-19 testing centers have all reopened. Hurricane and tropical storm warnings have been called off throughout the state. In Miami-Dade, the buses never even stopped running, despite the Cat 1 hurricane looming several hundred miles offshore. Tropical Storm Isaias gave South Florida its first brush with what promises to be an active, maybe even hyperactive hurricane season. Did you hear that? It gave South Florida its first brush with what promises to be an active, maybe even hyperactive hurricane season. Programming, everyone. You hear that programming? They're telling you what they're planning on doing. It says, the region appears to have emerged with no lasting damage beyond downed palm fronds and no serious test of the state's plan for hurricane shelters during a pandemic. See? Okay. But remember, they freaked everybody out. They pushed so much fear. Tons of people on the east coast of Florida ran and spent lots and lots of money at Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, etc., getting these massive corporations millions and millions of dollars, and then they just changed the path. This is a rinse and repeat. You say Miami, everybody runs and gets their stuff. Then you say, Fort Lauderdale, same thing. Vero Beach, the same thing. And they can just continue to move the track and sell out stores everywhere. Okay? Check it right here. This was an excellent trial run. No harm done to anything, but we all got to get our hurricane hats on for a little bit, said Brian McNulty, a senior research associate at the University of Miami's Rosenthal School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. Monday morning, Isaias crossed the border into Georgia without ever regaining hurricane strength, which it lost after a rough ride over the Bahamas, Andros Island, on Saturday. Yeah, I did a video on it. There was nothing left. It was literally, there was no hurricane. It wasn't even a tropical storm in my mind. Okay? But then, overnight, once it got, a little bit more out into the open water, not very much, it builds all the way back up to a Cat 1. Yeah, and we definitely saw them pumping frequencies into this in the middle of the night to do this. This is how they manipulate these storms. Wind shear and dry air from the Sahara were a 1-2 punch to the storm, McNulty said. And the only reason it's still holding on to the possibility of a hurricane force to hit the Carolinas is the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. Look at this. They're telling you that this hurricane had a 1-2 punch going against it. This was not supposed to be anything. So what did they do to make it do it? Yes, they manipulated it. The connecting forces between the super warm water over the Gulf Stream saying, go, 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 you can do it. And at the same time, it's getting its head ripped off by wind shear. kept the storm ragged and disorganized for its crawl along Florida's east coast on Sunday. Says the Palm Beach Post reported that 200 people sought shelter in Palm Beach. In Brevard, officials opened and closed a shelter within hours after only one person showed up. Neither county reported having to segregate any potentially CV positive evacuees, a challenge emergency managers across Florida have planned for this hurricane. There you go. Yup, you heard it. A plan to segregate. Yup, so if you test positive, which we know doesn't mean anything, so they can make you test positive for whatever they want, and now they can put you in special areas. It's just crazy. This is a planned out setup thing. This was a test run, I think. It says, in Miami-Dade, officials plan to nearly double the space offered per evacuee to 36 square feet, screen for symptoms of CV-19, and distribute masks, sanitizer, and gloves to any potential evacuees. The county also said it plans to use fans equipped with ultraviolet lights to kill off CV particles in midair. That part was that was a lot to me, because when they're talking about this, I need to look into this more, but I just feel like that could be used against us, right? Your fans with equipped ultraviolet lights, what does that do to you? What does that do to your body? I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think I would want to be in one of those places. It says, Miami-Dade is currently leasing 4 such fans from a Fisher Island-based startup called Sterile USA for $6,203, all of which appear to be in use in the county's emergency operations center. Why are they telling you this right now? A based startup, you think maybe they're trying to push that stock up? It says Jared Moskowitz, head of Florida's Department of Energy Management, told the Miami Herald that the state hopes to have rapid CV tests available for peak hurricane seasons in mid-September. There you go. There is their end goal. Yep, rapid CV test available for peak hurricane season in mid-September, when they are going to have one of these horrible storms come in, and for you to get into any shelter or even evacuate to a safe spot. They will have evacuation routes narrowed down. They will also have shelters narrowed down, and then you're going to have to do all this stuff just to get in the door. If the machines are available, FDEM will purchase them to give the county so that they can do testing in the shelters. But our planning right now does not include rapid testing because it's not rapidly available. Stephen Apolito, a meteorologist of the National Weather Service's Miami office, said the highest wind speed in South Florida was a 53-mile-per-hour wind gust recorded at the Palm Beach Airport in Miami. The highest wind speed recorded was 50 miles an hour. The rest of South Florida recorded winds in the high 30s and low 40s. The most rain was just under 2 inches recorded in South Lauderhill, he said. By Monday afternoon, Florida Power and Light announced it had restored electricity to all 40,000 customers who lost power during the storm's slow northward crawl. Most of the damage was from tree branches smacking into power lines. The utility is warning that CV precautions like CV screening and social distancing rules might slow down power restoration proved true. The average restoration time of 85 minutes per customer was indeed higher than the hour average for Hurricane Dorian, which knocked power out to 160,000 people. That part's very important. Very, very important. It says they were warning that CV precautions like CV screening and social distancing might slow power restoration, and it proved true. There you go. Another, time they're telling you exactly what's going to happen, what they're planning. Okay? They're going to use that. Oh, well, yep, power's out to everybody in this area, but sorry, it's going to take days now instead of one day due to the CV-19 screening and all the different rules and regulations for the so-called pandemic. They're going to continue to use these storms. NOAA has predicted that this could be an above-average hurricane season, with 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 6 major hurricanes. So far this season, there have been 9 named storms and 2 hurricanes, although neither strengthened into major storms. The next name for a storm is Josephine. I have already talked about this multiple times. When I looked at the list of names, for some reason, that name stood out to me. I definitely think that is the one that they may use, being Josephine, they like using those types of names, biblical names, for them to be bad, It says the usual peak of the storm season is from mid-August to mid-November, when tropical waters warm and factors like Saharan dust, which helped keep Isaias at bay, weaken. It could have been a totally different storm a month from now, McNulty said. Miami Herald staff writers Douglas Hanks and Ben Carr contributed to this report. Wow, right? It could have been a totally different storm a month from now. Please tell me you can read through the lines on that one. They are telling you what is going to happen, so people, please prepare ahead of this. Please don't wait on their time. Don't prepare on their time. Prepare on your own so that you are ahead of these people. I am telling you, this is something to watch. This is different than anyone I've ever seen, and I think it is all because of how it was a test run, and they are definitely practicing getting troops and getting everything else in place, so that when this stuff happens, you are so vulnerable because you're going to need them, and you're going to have to do what they say to even get shelter or power, whatever it is. Look at California with the power shutoffs. Exactly the same type of stuff they're going to do here. This is how they control you. Look at this one. This is from today. Well, yesterday, but, it's 4 in the morning, so. It says, as power companies prep for tropical storm Isaias, they ask you to do the same. Okay, this is it. This is just, it's nonstop in the headlines. With the storm brewing that has potential to cause flooding and knock out power in some parts of the D.C. area, Dominion Energy is reminding residents to do their best to prepare, especially during the CV so-called pandemic. Okay, this is just going to be rinse and repeat. Check, here we go. Virginia National Guard plans to mobilize ahead of tropical storm Isaias. It says, the Virginia National Guard is planning to mobilize about 40 personnel in the Eastern Shore area for state emergency support duty in response to potential impact from Tropical Storm Isaias. The National Guard personnel will assist local and state agencies in emergency preparedness. Soldiers will begin preparations on Sunday with a goal to be in place by Monday. Says that Governor Ralph Northam declared a state of emergency on July 31st, authorizing the Virginia National Guard's mobilization to organize resources and deploy equipment for potential recovery efforts ahead of Tropical Storm Isaias. Hurricane Isaias is a serious storm, and current predictions indicate that it may impact parts of Virginia as early as this weekend, Northam said. This state of emergency will ensure local and communities have the assistance they need to protect the safety of Virginians, particularly as we continue to deal with the CV-19 crisis. I encourage Virginians to take all necessary precautions, monitor local weather forecasts, and stay alert. Those impacted by the storm and in need of assistance should send support requests to VDEM to ensure that resources are provided in a timely manner. National Guard personnel will also follow the appropriate CV-19 health protection guidelines, including social distancing and wearing face coverings. It is very important that we get our personnel and equipment staged and ready. Staged and ready at the right locations before the severe weather hits, so we are able to rapidly respond if needed, explained Brigg. General James Ring, Virginia National Guard Director of the Joint Staff. Additional personnel and equipment could be brought on duty if needed. They are getting in place. They are setting up everywhere in the United States. They're going to be doing this out where the wildfires are going on. They're going to do it here, and they will use other, crises and, other things they can use throughout the entire United States to put you in these types of positions, shutting your power off, not giving you any stimulus money, etc., putting somebody into a corner, and then they need to do what? Bring in the military. Same thing with the riots. They're getting so bad, guess what? They're going to bring in the military for your own good. Alright everyone, we're going to cut this one there. I have 2 other ones that I'm working on right now. One is kind of a follow-up to this one, and the other 1 or 2, one is on Australia with what is going on there, which is horrible, and we'll try to get these done tonight. I'm doing my best. So I thank you all once again. Thank you for the ones that did come to the live stream tonight, and it was great to talk with you. And remember, continue to pray against this evil. We will win. Good defeats evil. Stay strong and have no fear. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.